All right, we are back for part 2 of Chapter 5 of Life is Strange Double Exposure, continuing right now.
Now that I've traveled to Purgatory and back, I can finally see what's going on with Gwen. I'm back.
Jesus, Max. Warn a girl first.
Sorry.
You disappeared and I don't know where you went.
I'm okay. And I promise I'll explain everything. Later. I should be able to reach Gwen now.
Let me just do a once around for photos. Turns out you never know where they're gonna pop up. Alright.
She looks so content. I wish it were real.
You know she was flirting with you, right?
Listen, I'm here to help you.
I adore you, but read the room, bud.
That's Sophie, all right. Hang on, Gwen. It's almost over.
Hold on, I want to zoom in a little bit. Nope, nope, nope. Sorry. Right about there, I hope.
Max! Oh! Thank you. That's on your keyboard. They were all... Sophie. They called me a fraud. A coward.
It's okay. I got you. Amanda, you and Gwen stay here and take shelter.
Wait, what are you gonna do?
Sophie's out there. Somewhere close. I can feel her. And she needs me. I need her.
Be safe, yeah?
When am I not?
Why do I always gotta fall for the weird ones?
Always forget you're so huggy.
I was so fucking worried about you. When I couldn't see you anymore, I thought,
It got a little hairy. Thank you, Max.
don't thank me yet. We still have to find a way out of this place. Or this time.
Hey, I'm taking a minute. All of that
Was pretty fucked up. Yeah.
Who needs all the king's horses and all the king's men? I've got you to put me back together again.
You know, I was pretty cool. I accept fawning gratitude.
Consider yourself fond. Oof. So, any chance of everybody just forgetting I tried to rip out their soul?
I've erased timelines before, but this time I think I assimilated them. Sorry.
Oh, you just assimilated the timeline.
Yeah. At least, that's what it feels like.
Time travel, alternate universes, scraping together the broken pieces of your unstable friends. What else can you do?
I don't know. Get a lot of nosebleeds? Migraines, too. This power involves a lot of ibuprofen.
What?
You just seem... like you're about to make me cry.
In fairness, I've seen pet food commercials make you cry. Here's the thing. I'm glad you were here too. You know. But I just tore everybody apart into tiny little pieces.
You didn't mean to.
Are you sure? I didn't not mean to. Maya isn't any less dead. Everybody I cared about still betrayed me. My mom will never be different. I think the best thing would be clean break. I don't belong here.
Don't say that. Of course you do.
After the wallet girl died, what did you do?
I ran away. You're not like me, Sophie. You're way stronger than I ever was.
Don't say that about yourself. You have it wrong. People like you and me, we don't belong at some B-tier liberal arts university with a bunch of washed-up bloggers ready to knife each other for tenure. We're fucking divine.
Come on.
I'm serious. The shit that we can do, gods can do that stuff. Or monsters.
You can say whatever you want about the choices you made, but you aren't a monster. You're my friend.
I hurt people.
And I fixed it. We can fix it. Together.
Of course. Duh. That's why you're so confident. It figures the only person I can rely on is me.
Sophie, I don't...
Last piece of me, Max. It's in you.
Why isn't it hurting me like it hurt everyone else?
Maybe I trust you. Maybe it's more of your Magic Max bullshit. I wish I didn't have to take it out. Is that weird?
Sophie. This is maybe the least weird thing that's happened to me in days.
We should though, right? That's how we get out of here?
If I had to put money on it, yeah.
It's probably for the best. We don't want you to get an infection or anything.
See you on the other side.
Sophia.
Oh my god! Yasmin! Everything is gonna be okay, don't worry. Do you think you can get up? Can you... Sophie, help me!
Clean break. Remember?
Maxine, don't let her go.
It's okay. Sophie! She's your mother.
Oh, yeah?
Now I'm my mother. I can be anyone, Max. I can be a cute girl at the bar. I can even be...
Sophie, stop it!
It's real? I wasn't hallucinating? What are you? And what did you do with my daughter?
You can make her forget she saw that, right? Better yet, you could make me unshoot her. You have an instant undo button on life, Max. Why not use it?
If you think that's how it works, you don't know anything. There's always a price, Sophie. Always.
You're right. I've got a lot to learn. So teach me, Miss Caulfield.
What?
You said we could fix everything. Together.
Sophie. I can't. I have my life. Everybody.
I'm going to find other people like us. People with powers. I spent my whole life thinking I was the only one. Knowing I could never tell anyone because they would look at me like that. But now there's you. You and me. Time traveler and a shapeshifter. Imagine what we could do. And who cares if I'm a silly little girl whose mom needs to show her how the world works? Because now, it works however I want it to. Stay here. Keep your job, your life, whatever irresistible glory Caledon can offer you. But I have to know. When I come back, are you going to stay with me, Max? Are we in this together? Or is everything you said in the storm just words?
She is making me extremely uncomfortable. I don't think there's any real choice here, especially not for Max Caulfield.
I'm so glad you're okay, Sophie. And I'm happy you don't feel alone anymore, but I know what happens when you just use your powers without thinking. Then on a get out of jail free card.
Okay, Max Caulfield.
Be seeing you.
That was sudden. I didn't press a button. Hold on. So let's look at journal real quick. There's no other force in my world like Safi, but we're not gods. Didn't she see what happened, what our powers can do? She could have killed Yasmin. Her complete lack of concern for her mother. I understand that she feels deeply betrayed by her mother and her mother's actions regarding Maya Okada. I get that. Her mother is lying on the ground after having been shot in the shoulder. I know that we're in, like, fictional video game land and, you know, there's television land and movie land. In real world, that can be a fatal wound, and it really bothers me that we're just sort of, like, having a long chat about it. We'll skip past infection and everything else. It just seems really concerning, and Safi is completely disengaged. Let's move on. We'll have the end to talk about. After everything happened, I felt so numb, I couldn't tell if I was awake or dreaming. Time traveling is like that. It's real up until the point no one else but you can remember it. I doubted my choices. I had regrets. I wasn't sure which words were mine or hers. It was like we were still in each other's heads. You felt the same way once. I wanted to know you like I knew myself. I felt proud when I could say the words you were thinking out loud. I thought we were linked, but I couldn't predict what she'd do, and now Safi's gone. Who knows if she'll ever come back. Alright, Max has written back to her parents. Okay, I feel like this is where we started, or where we left off. Hey, Max's mom and dad, we saw the news about the storm out your way, which, by the way, blows the hole in my theory that the storm was only in Max's head and being projected by, like it was a psychic projection. It was apparently very real. Please take care of yourself. Hey, Max's mom and dad, we saw... Oh, sorry, we read that. We know things are probably pretty insane there right now, so no rush in getting back to us. We're just checking in. It's been a day, and we're obviously worried because we're your parents, but let us know you're all right and we'll stop. Guess who? Yeah, it's the Caulfields. We miss our daughter and want to know if she's not hurt or anything. We've been keeping tabs on reports of any casualties and are relieved there haven't been any so far, but we'd love to hear from you. Okay, sorry for all the texts and concerns. We figured that things are still down in your area and you don't have phone access right now. That's the only explanation we can think of, so just give us a call or send us a text when you have power again, yeah? And then Max does write back, I'm so sorry, you guys. It's been a long, weird week, but I'm okay. Promise I'll call you later when things are settled. And her parents write back, thank God you're all right. Take all the time you need, but not too much time, yeah? Love you, Max. And Max wrote back, love you back. Amanda says, thanks for wearing a poor, bone-weary bartender's night. That's previous. Let's message back to Moses. By the way, everyone's here at the Turtle now. You sure you want to do this? Yeah. Max is ready. Broken glass. Safi says... Okay, this feels old. Okay, that's the snapping turtle purchase. So I feel like we got all up to speed on that. And then here in Crosstalk, Loretta says, hey, Clueheads, as many of you know, Lakeport was hit by a brutal storm last week. I'm physically okay, but it may take me a while to put together a new episode, and I'm sorry. Anjali says, real Clueheads, don't care when the next episode comes out. You just care that you're okay. Gwen says, you don't have to apologize to take care of yourself. And Loretta, thanks, Dr. Hunter. Abraxas Society says... As many of you are aware, because many of you submitted them, we've been inundated with questions about Abraxas and the storm. Since its inception, the Abraxas Society has navigated more difficult waters than these and come out ahead. We have done so through the bold and clear-headed vision of our leadership, and rest assured, that is as true now as ever. Marlon says that's what I'm talking about. Rowan says there's a reason Abraxas is the best group on campus. What the hell are you talking about? Again, there are questions about what leadership looks like. We promise to have answers. What? I'm so confused about what the hell you're talking about. Abraxas in the storm. Yeah, and I have questions about the Chess Society in the storm. Whatever. Gwen says, I'm not an official voice at Caledon anymore, but please take care of each other. The storm last week was traumatic for everyone. Hearts and Caledon's cursed. And Martin says, thanks for always looking out for the students, Gwen. More than I can say about some here. And then Reggie says, shit's fucked, but life is good. Vin wants a text back. Okay, so Vin and Reggie seem to be together. May says, we should come home for Christmas. We'd all love to see you. And Reggie says, maybe when Dad apologizes to me and Vin, May's calling you. And Reggie says, I'm not picking up. I hope he changes his mind on that.
Classic Yasmin. Playing it close to the chest.
I don't know what went on between him and his parents, but maybe don't nurse grudges for so long that they become infected. Yasmin says, my excellent medical team says I'll clear to start work again in a week, ever onward. And Isabel says, consider taking more than a week, please. And Juliet says, what actually happened? Thoughtful face. And let's just see if there's anything else under main feed, because sometimes they hide other stuff in here. Read that, yup. So Kim wants to know if anybody else experienced weird deja vu since the storm. Marlon says it's worse than deja vu. Everything's a little off around me. David wants to know if anybody's getting headaches. Tim says you too. Drew says you are all dumb because weird stuff happened. That's normal. And Damien says shut the fuck up, Drew. Get off the internet. No one wants you here. Yeah, Drew's the big naysayer, isn't he? About everything all the time. Connor says PSA, stop sending me storm articles. I only want to talk about simple shit right now, like sandwiches, and then they have a conversation about sandwiches. And that brings us up to date.
No more lies. No more hiding.
So, Max, if you're thinking about coming open about your
They're
powers...
all waiting for me at the snapping turtle.
I would think that that's an exceedingly bad idea. You think Safi failed to understand. So we are in a unified timeline, by the way. They've been combined. So, hold on. Vin wants to know which of me is which. Reggie doesn't know. Hi says dramatic bro. Do you want to talk about it? And Vin says not particularly.
Good to know that the storm aftermath didn't undo the effort I put into that godforsaken puzzle box.
Look, I don't exactly have a record of letting you into Abraxas or who did, but it's been a very, very long week for everyone, and we're glad you're here. Snake legs forever.
You two make it look so easy. I bet you never had to explain your bizarro superpowers to someone you made out with.
Safi has a framework by which to understand supernatural powers. The people at the Snapping Turtle don't. So if that's what Max is going to go there to do, which is what I'm picking up on, oof.
In whatever reality, all those moments between us were real.
Both realities somehow got smushed together in the storm. Now everything's the same, but not. How crazy is it that my brain can wrap around that so easily? Years ago, I would have been freaking out. But I'm okay. I'm not that same kid anymore. That storm haunted me for years. I can't let this one haunt me too.
All right, just waiting a few more moments and then we'll probably, keep going. Every once in a while, they'll like throw in a different scene, a different moment. Like you think they're just looping in order, but then they'll throw in something that they didn't have on a previous loop. And I didn't actually look at the bench for what it's worth.
There's always time to sit.
Hey, Alice.
Hey, you didn't answer my text.
You start out a friendship to win a small cash prize in a campus-wide game of assassins. And you end with, yo, did you catch that insane mindstorm?
I don't think there's another world to cross over to anymore.
Too many events happening on top of each other?
You could have asked that. I would have said yes, I do. And yeah, that shit was crazy. I'm sorry, Tim.
Yeah, I'm sorry too. I remember being a huge dick to you when I was drunk.
Yeah, so do I. It sucked.
But I also remember you totally betraying me and taking the money for yourself. Did that happen?
I don't know. Probably. I have the money. All $500 of it.
You need the assassin's money to see your sister?
Yeah, she's getting surgery and I'm gonna hang with her while she recovers. Didn't I tell you that?
You said you wanted to visit her. I didn't know about the surgery part.
I didn't think you'd care.
Alice, what have I ever done to make you think I wouldn't care? That's why you were pissed at me, right? I cared too much?
It's not that you cared too much. It's that you expected something from me without even bothering to tell me what it was.
Alice, I'm sorry.
Look, I'll give you your half of the money. You earned it. Best assassin's buddy a chick could ask for.
No, you needed to visit family. I was just gonna buy video games with it.
Video games are important.
Just bring me back something from Portland.
Like what?
I don't know, a Portland thing. Hemp?
You can get hemp here.
Bring me Portland hemp.
You're so weird. Okay, dude.
I don't claim to know the laws. I just probably wouldn't want to get on a plane with all of the hemp.
I really hope no one was around when that fell.
Also, by the time we were like a minute into that, I was really invested in figuring out what all they were talking about.
Loretta looks like she's running on empty. I guess we all are.
Hey there. Miss Caulfield. Sorry. I'm still kind of on edge. Thanks, by the way, for what you did at the Nebula. I froze up.
Hey, you were overwhelmed. Most people aren't prepared for reality to break like that.
So, do you also remember that there were like 2 of you? And now there are
fighting for space in your head?
Well, it didn't work the same way for me. But that's because... Wait, are you asking on the record?
This isn't for my podcast, I swear. I'm putting that on pause for now.
What happened during the storm? Even I don't understand half of it.
Yeah, I figured. I just don't want everyone to suffer like that again.
Take care of yourself, okay? We've all had it rough.
Right back at you.
Let me just have a closing thought on Loretta here in case I forget later on. Loretta was abrasive and rude and seemed more interested in spreading gossip than truth, mixing up the responsibilities of a journalist with the responsibility of just like a muckraker. She's also like 20, 21, 22. I mean, I ask me anything, but they're all in college is the point. She's young. She's got a lot of space to grow, a lot of lessons that she can learn and improve on. So I just want to be clear. I don't hate Loretta. I would want to encourage Loretta to do better, but she does definitely have a lot of ways to go.
This will help me get my bearings a little bit.
Parenthetically, this has never once helped me get my bearings. I see the where are you now and so forth, but I always... Hold on.
Do remember that?
I mean, yeah, not exactly that, maybe, but yeah.
I'm still trying to make sense of what happened, while also coming to terms with the fact I might never do that.
All right, I doubt we're going inside.
No use going that way. I've got other places to...
Do you still feel like shit, too? We've got to be silver linings about this whole thing.
Huh. Guess the Safi Memorial is no longer here. Or maybe never was. After all the storm shenanigans. There's Lucas, awaiting his fate at Caledon. Dead.
Damn it.
Working on your new book? Maybe you should switch to science fiction.
Real fucking funny. I just had some kind of psychological breakdown and you're laughing.
I don't really know how to explain what happened. But you should think of it as a second chance.
My life's fucking trash now. No thanks to you and Safi. You're toxic, Max. I can't surround myself with that kind of energy. Maybe I'll write my own book about this whole mess. My side of the story.
Well, goodbye, Lucas. Good luck.
Go fuck yourself, Max.
Lucas, by contrast, is a whole-ass adult and a huge asshole. Just seems super unlikely he's ever going to improve.
Thomas, you're back. Mostly.
Not there yet. My position's off.
So you gotta find, like, as far back as you can go and still trigger it?
Not there yet. My position's off.
See, I would want to take the picture from here.
I was shocked too.
But you can't.
Hey.
So... Oh, and it's gotta be from the front. Like, you can't... So, Max, do you want to give me a little bit of a hint as to where... What would be a good angle?
Not there yet. My position's off.
Oh, photo spot. I'm so sorry. Wait, what is it? What if you Y it?
Got it. This is the shot. I wonder how I'll feel about this photo in 10 years.
I like Sad Lucas. Let's get Sad Lucas in here as well. Guess too many people rubbed his toe. Okay, onward to the snapping turtle.
Yasmin. I haven't heard from her since the day she came out of surgery. Hello?
Hello, Maxine.
How's your shoulder?
The bullet missed any major veins. But it will be months of physical therapy before I can use my arm.
Yasmin, what you saw during the storm...
I don't need an explanation. Not yet. If I try to understand, then there will be no room for my recovery. And I will recover. I have to find Safia.
Any news about your job? I heard the board,
I have been arguing with them. I made my mistakes, but these are offset by an excellent track record.
And did the board buy that?
They did not, no. I have been asked, forced to step down. I love my daughter, Maxine, just like you. I am not a monster.
I haven't heard from Safi, if that's what you're trying to ask.
Oh. I had hoped... One moment. Excuse me, I'm apparently well past the appointed time to take my painkillers.
Until next time. Jesus, campus cleanup is gonna be a bitch.
Yasmin losing her position is entirely appropriate.
Here goes nothing.
Well?
Not a peep.
Guess I'm not surprised. Would you come looking for us if you were her?
But it's not me. It's Safi. Does anyone ever know what she'll do next? Does she?
Maybe we should go easy on her. Wait for her to pick up the pieces.
In the meantime...
Take your time. I'll be here when you're done.
I want to check on how everyone's doing first.
We're gonna look, but that's all.
God, Krampus feels like it was 1,000,000 years ago.
Okay, quick timeout. Diamond says, if anybody has answers about that storm last week, please let your girl know, because that was wild. Moses says, I'll understand if you say no, but I'm definitely going to run some experiments and could use another pair of hands. Diamond says, just say when and where, we can compare notes. And Moses says, cool, I'll be in touch. So curious what experiments he intends to run. Moses says, mood right now, Schrodinger opening that box and finding his cat miraculously alive. Carla says, Moses, did something happen to you in that storm? Because if so, I am not about to take over your classes. And Tony says, oh, is it Tony? I love it when you talk all sciencey almost as much as I love that you weren't hurt in the storm. Is Tony his significant other? I don't remember his name. So Amanda says, weird question, but is anybody else still really fucked up from the storm? Because my brain is just not operating right, and I'm not sure what to tell someone I just became really close to. Reggie says, maybe it's worth asking yourself what you want and being honest with them about that. Amanda says, Reggie, that's a very elegant solution. Reggie says, even if the circumstances don't make sense, your feelings do, you know? Moses says, Reggie coming clutch with good advice, and Diamond says now he just needs to take it himself. And that looks like it. There's no new journal, no new messages. I kind of want to talk to Amanda last. Let's try to work our way in.
Texting me for days.
And I bet you that, yeah, that crossover
I can't
point.
hear that humming sound anymore. There's only one world now. No more doorways to other timelines. The last time I saw Gwen, she was wrecked.
Some weather we're having, am I right?
Hope that wasn't the grand explanation you promised us.
Hey, isn't eloquence your job? I just take the photos.
I felt how much she hated me, Max. It was terrifying. And disappointing.
Yes.
Yasmin played everyone against each other, Gwen. She used you.
I don't think I've ever felt like such a mark.
It's in the past now.
I hope so. Oh, one more thing. That video footage of me, that was Safi, right?
Yeah.
Fuck. That girl never does anything halfway. Neither do you, now that I think about it. Anyway, I talked to the committee that fired me. There's enough weird shit that's happened. I think I can argue my way back in. I failed Safi. But there's other students here I can still support. I won't just let it go.
I'm glad to hear it.
I'm very glad that she's fighting for her job. I'll be very surprised if she gets it back, because when things get weird, I feel like people stick to the script. And if there's footage out there of somebody who looks and sounds exactly like Gwen Hunter selling drugs to students, the idea that, oh, we had a weird storm once, so there was enough plausible deniability, benefit of the doubt, whatever you want to say, probable cause, that it was some shapeshifter that had nothing to do with the storm. How do you explain that to the parents? I think that Gwen should fight for her job. I hope that she gets it back. And we have seen a lot of evidence elsewhere through the adventure that Gwen is very supportive of her students. The students love Gwen as a professor, that Caledon will be worse off for not having Gwen Hunter there, unlike Yasmin, who I think did a huge cover-up. I just don't see that as working out.
So...
At least those two have each other. Storm bonded.
Who, Max?
Soft. Hey, Max. Our Lady of the Storm.
Wow, let's not do that.
How are you guys holding up?
Oh, my whole world has been rocked. You rocked my world.
I remember a bunch of things happening that I plan to repress until I have a spectacular nervous breakdown at age 40.
Honestly, you might want to try therapy.
Therapy! My dad will love that.
For now, I just want to get through this election.
Oh, right. The Abraxas election. So you're not stepping down?
I'd ask how you know that. But at this point, Caulfield, if you grew another head, I wouldn't even blink.
I'll get right on that.
Sorry, just I don't want there to be more dialogue, so I'm just going to pause here real quick. We don't do face cam here. When he said after the election, and I knew immediately it was about Abraxas, I rolled my eyes so hard I almost knocked myself out. I can't believe he gives a shit about that.
Diamond's gonna be pissed you aren't stepping.
What do you say to a picture? For old time's sake?
Moses has hypothermia. And now, crippling anxiety.
I can never have enough shots of Moses.
Right there. I like it. Asking Moses to act natural seems to result in the exact opposite. More research needed. It was a very awkward pause, but it's very, like, Moses.
Has it only been a semester? After everything we've been through? I feel like I've known Moses my whole life.
Max. Sorry, You're gonna explain what happened, right?
Hey. We okay?
What do you think it all means? Why you? Or Safi?
I used to ask myself stuff like that all the time.
Come up with any answers?
No. But I did fuck up a lot of my relationships in the process. Wouldn't recommend it.
How are we supposed to walk around knowing something like that could happen?
You already handle that. Every day. Anything could happen at any moment. You could be hit by a car. Struck by lightning.
Is this your pep talk?
That didn't go great.
I have to go see about a girl.
So you're Super Max. Guess your secret identity's gone, huh?
I wanted to tell you.
But you couldn't. Just like with the Maya thing. Any more secrets, or do I finally get to know you now?
I don't know. This isn't my first time seeing a storm like this. It's not super easy to explain.
It is pretty insane. You know, I remember rejecting you. And then you just found a version of me that still wanted you. A pretty cool trick. But kind of fucked up.
Where does that leave us? I'd understand if this changes things.
I don't know if I can answer that right now. All of this scares the shit out of me, honestly. If it weren't you, I don't know how down I would be to play Lois Lane. But it is you. And I like you.
think I need time to sort out my shit. Give me a little. And then who knows? Maybe you can win me back.
Challenge accepted.
I really wanted to get them together.
I think that's everyone. Okay, Moses. Let's give them the talk.
Okay, just a super quick, I don't even think this is going to show up. I'm just going to try, like, alt-tabbing out real quick. If you've been looking at the screen, it's, like, updating Max's jacket and hoodie at a different rate than everything else, and I don't know why it's doing that all of a sudden. Seems a little bit odd. But let's see if we can continue now.
That storm seems kind of evil, all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Hey, Diamond. I'd like to get a photo for the end of the year. Mind if I...
Okay.
There was a patch
I was hoping she'd be a little more enthused, but...
Since the last episode. That's good, not blinking. So much going on behind that faint smile. I only wish I knew that. I only wish I knew what.
Do you blame Safi for what happened?
I just want to know she's okay.
Not an answer.
It's complicated.
Hold on, can we do a photograph? Yeah, I want to do a photograph of everybody.
Do you guys mind if I take a picture?
Hell yes. Put us in the next Caulfield collection.
They're kind of a cute couple, honestly.
Starting to believe no law of physics, known or unknown, could keep these two apart.
Everything's changing so fast. I'm not sure what I'll do when you graduate.
Mind if I take a snapshot to remember you by?
Oh, whatever you want. This could be your last chance to take my photo. Make it count.
I wonder if there's a version where Lucas would also be here. Hold on. Wait. No, I like that. Wait. And... I liked it when she was, like, standing up a little... Yeah, right there. Perfect. It wasn't until I met Gwen that I learned what a bad bitch truly was. Can I... Hold on, can we look at this? We've looked at this. So, speak to Moses in a second. And also, we do have a new journal. Well, I made it, crossed off, survived. Not only me, but everyone. Not like before. Something has been restored, but I don't want to jinx it by naming it. I don't know what they'll remember or what scars, if any, they'll take from this. I've got more than enough myself. And Safi, she's gone through more than I could ever imagine, but she needs help I can't give her. I only hope when I see her again she'll have found it, for all our sakes. Okay, no law of physics, faint smile. Lucas says much has been written about the proverbial calm before the storm, yet what of the calm that follows? Coming to terms with the enormity of existential dread, one you survived and are left to pick up the pieces of your life. Yet, like Prospero, the tempest sends me out into the unknown. The mystery is the point, I suppose. I only hope I'm brave enough to face whatever may come head on. To that end, I'm working on a statement that addresses the claims made about me at the recent Krampus on Campus event. Oh, sorry, Krampus on Campus. Please extend your grace to me and to all of us as I choose the right words. The user has turned off comments on this post. He's a scumbag. Safi writes, "The water's rising. Vengeance is a live thing. It breathes and bleeds, starves and hungers. I wear a cloth of mourning, suffocating in its black. Silence is also a blunt weapon, also a poison, also a noose." Safi has turned off comments on this post. Cool. Okay, so that's everything. Let's go talk to Moses.
I'm fine, all right? Jesus. I'm sorry.
Wait.
I didn't mean to snap. This whole...
Sorry, can we get a snapshot of Amanda?
One more photo for the road?
Sure. You keep at this, I'm gonna have to start charging a modeling fee.
Ha ha.
The thing is, and like, there's gonna be people that got them together. Oh, perfect. There's gonna be people that got these two together, and I don't know how. Max was so into Amanda the whole game, she never even glanced at anybody else. Post. I don't think I'll ever get tired of this face.
Amanda always looks like she has it perfectly together, even amidst all of this. God, Krampus feels like it was 1,000,000 years ago. Everyone's pretty shell-shocked.
Yep.
How about you? Still excited to have double memories?
I can't be the only one. Seriously? Come on, it's fascinating. Well, I feel better knowing you stood up to Safi. She cares what you think. Maybe it'll make a difference.
I don't think it's over. At least she knows I'll be hanging around if she tries anything bad.
And me. I'll be ready next time.
Hey, we're a team, right? I'll handle it with you. No more hiding or running away.
Do you think you'll ever go back to Arcadia Bay?
It's finally starting to
Yeah.
make sense.
One day.
I never knew what to say when they'd say to call a friend. But I think it's starting to make sense. And I'll try to get it right. To have you on my side, I feel fine some days. I just wanna get it right.
I think it's time I explained a few things.
That I won't have to try sometimes.
It won't always make sense. And I'm not proud of every decision I made. But
you don't walk away like the rest do. And suddenly I have so much more I can
it's the truth. What's coming next is going to be difficult. For all of us.
on my side.
But we're going to get through it together.
Some days
I promise.
I just wanna get it right. And I know that I won't have to.
This time, I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, this seems very loud, so we're gonna risk bringing it down a whole bunch. Okay, that should be a lot more hopefully a lot closer to something that's audible, but also not just like completely in your face. Boy, I'm gonna miss this game. So start somewhere. Sorry, I'm very sad to see this game over. I really like Life is Strange as a franchise, and it was so exciting to get to see Max Caulfield. Sorry, that ending hit me a lot harder than I thought it was going to. Just a quick second here. Among other things, maybe just to start somewhere, huge congratulations to Hannah Tell. I think that I said this at the very beginning. Hannah Tell is the voice actor, and to the best of my knowledge, motion and face capture for Max Caulfield, and this was a role that she had wanted to return to for a very long time. I had the opportunity to see some interviews with her from, various YouTube channels. If I could name one in specific, I would do that right here, but she was very desirous of getting to return to this. The role of Max Caulfield was one that meant a lot to her, and she sort of did Life is Strange 1 at a point that she described as being just like really in tune with that exact moment in her life, that the character and her real life sort of crossed over in a way that was really meaningful to her. And I'm so glad that she got to return to this. As this is going by, I'm less familiar with a lot of the other names here, but shout out to all of the voice actors and anyone that did their voice and face capture, because I think that that's one thing that this game did excellently. It was, I think, just the last episode where I was saying that, like, I listed out some of the characters. Nobody did a bad job, but especially the face capture work on Safi, Gwen, Moses, and probably Lucas as well, was just so good. Their way that you could see them, like, thinking and processing in a way that for so many years video games have really struggled to sort of get all of that. And of course we've seen games like The Last of Us Part 2, the Uncharted games. Like, this is something that with enough tech they've worked out. Well, Deck 9 is a really small studio, and these games are published by Square Enix, but these games are done on a very small budget relative to like these massive AAA games. So I feel like what they've accomplished here from a technical standpoint is really, really impressive. And that's why, like, I just want to sort of center on that for a second before we talk through a couple moments where maybe the tech didn't quite live up to the storytelling ambition that they had. And then finally, just to get us started, I was, again, just really happy to see the character of Max Caulfield and to see how she has changed in the 10-ish years since the previous game. I think it's more like 8, if I'm going to remember. Wasn't the first game in 2016? If I'm off on a few dates, if it was closer to 5 years than 10 or whatever, it's fine. What I enjoyed seeing was this person is so recognizably, to me, Max Caulfield from that original game, but a little bit older and noticeably more self-confident, more self-possessed, and aware of herself. And I feel like even within this game, what we see is her crossing that bridge to be someone who is sort of a reluctant authority figure, having a position here at this college, to somebody who is like going to step up and actively be a leader for this group of people that now know of the existence of people with powers and are maybe bracing themselves for, if not vengeance, then the return of somebody who would have a lot of ammunition to turn them against each other, if not necessarily the motivation to do so. Safi is a very complicated character that we'll maybe touch on as we go through here. I'm just going to note, well, let's maybe talk about Safi then. I was so on board for the first 3 episodes of this. You guys have no idea. And on occasion, we've had the question about, hey, why wait a week? Like, if you want to play it as much as you say, why wait a week? I wait a week between episodes of Narrative Sunday, because I feel like it greatly heightens my anticipation and my understanding of the story and my appreciation for the story, to give the plot beats a little bit of time to breathe rather. And from episode 1 to episode 2 to episode 3, it was so on point. I think it was episode 2 that ended with the revelation of the photograph of Max. If it was episode 1, forgive me, I'm trying to remember exactly where that happened. But the episode that ended on the photograph of Max was so good, because I simply didn't foresee that as being the final photograph on Safi's camera. That was such a powerful moment. And the photograph is so powerful that it's Max pointing a gun directly into the lens with a tear visible rolling down one cheek. And it's so good because you're seeing this after the point where you've seen what Safi's death, what effect that had on Max. It was definitely at the end of episode 2, because episode 1 ended with Max realizing that she could travel to a place where Safi was still alive. And I remember starting episode 2, chapter 2, and being like, what's the date? When is this? And working out fairly quickly, wait a second, this is the same date as in chapter 1, but Safi is still here. And that leads me into something that I promise I really don't think that I was reading into nothing when I was like, no, these universes are more different than just at the point where Safi died. There were all of these little things where now maybe, see, I'd be willing to call them continuity errors, like the whiteboard at the snapping turtle where Max hadn't voted for what sort of soup it was going to be, or the pickup line board, because those things happened before the death of Safi, and now they're just different. And yes, it was a week between those times, and in one universe, Safi was dead, and in the other universe, nothing much had happened, so maybe those boards were updated as normal. But to me, I took those as signs of the universes having been different in a variety of other ways, as I talked about. And that was heightened when there was this one candy box that Max picked up where she was like, well, these are Safi's favorite candies, but the name is different. And I thought it was something along those lines. I guess I was wrong, but that sort of threw me off for those first few episodes. Sorry for, I guess, overanalyzing, but I promise I wasn't just like making stuff up out of whole cloth. I just misread the clues. The mural on the wall of the snapping turtle was another like big thing, just because it seemed not impossible, but just so unlikely that somebody would go in and repaint that picture of the Tiny Tina character, like being more sad and crying, like to paint over the existing mural with one that was so similar, but to just change the facial expression. It really threw me off. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. That said, episode 1 ends on Max has her powers and can travel to a place where Safi is still alive. Episode 2 ended on that just thunderbolt of a photograph, and then episode 3 ended on what I thought I was being very clever and working out with, oh my god, Safi must be a shape changer. And then when episode 4 started, it was like, no, everybody knows. Well, not everybody, but like Max has a whole journal entry that just immediately starts off with like, Safi is a shape changer. And you can sort of put together the two of them have had some sort of conversation to like get things started as they work their way back to the cabin. But for me, I remember like that the outro to episode 3 was a big one, because I was thinking back over everything we had learned, be like, oh my god, now it all works out. And I really felt like I was being clever. And then it felt like chapter 4 came and it was like, yeah, obviously, dummy. Like, clearly that's what we meant when she flashed with light and turned into a different human being. Safi's power was interesting. Here's what I sort of feel happened. As they were writing the script, they wanted Safi to mimic Gwen Hunter, to sell the drugs to the kids, and they wanted that to appear on camera. And then they also wanted to get to this plot point where Safi's powers would spiral out of control and start inflicting this just emotional anguish on everybody in a very wide radius, apparently outside of her control. In order for that second thing to make sense, Safi's shape-shifting ability needs to actually be mental manipulation. She's kind of a very specific, Professor X style character where she can manipulate what you think you see and hear, and primarily uses that for shape-shifting. Okay, got it. Then why does she look that way on a camera? Like, you can almost feel the moment that somebody on the writing staff was like, "Excuse me, what does God need with a starship?" And they were like, "Uh-oh." The thing is, I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't just change that camera footage to being something else, up to and including just a pile of student testimonials. However, then they also wanted to have the scene where Gwen was throwing the USB drive into the fire, and you as Max need to choose, are you going to fish it out? Well, what would be on the USB drive? Well, I guess they really, really wanted that to be video footage, and for the video footage to be so unnatural that it would set that off. It just felt like it opened up a whole can of worms about, like, wait, if Safi is adjusting how people perceive, why does it show up on camera? And I just want to go on record right here because it does. It just does. How long does it take a Star Destroyer to travel to Alderaan? It takes exactly as long as it needs to for the plot. And sometimes that's just what it is. So if we're going to accept a world of superpowers, then we're going to accept that. It just felt a little unnecessary. Like, maybe they could have polished up that particular point in the plot by having it be something other than video footage of Gwen. We'll move on. It's not the biggest deal, but there was that, like, wait, how does it work again? The thing is, it's infinitely cooler if Safi can change people's perception of what she looks like, because, for example, it would set up the idea that we don't ever see this happen, but it sets up the idea that Safi could make herself look and sound exactly like Moses, but not actually be any stronger or any taller, for that matter. She's not actually Moses. She just looks that way. And it would have been interesting if we saw that play out, where Safi takes on the persona, the appearance of somebody who you would think would have different physical characteristics. Like, maybe a character was demonstrated as being, like, super double jointed, but like, that wasn't something that she could actually do in that guise. I think would have been interesting. Feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity. Not a big deal, but I just thought that that's one of the things that made it really interesting. The mystery was so good through those first 3 episodes, and then you get that reveal and it all suddenly snaps together. Episode 3, the end of episode 3, was that big aha moment where I couldn't wait to see what was going to happen next. And I said this at episode 4. I really thought that we were going to come into episode 4 with Safi getting away, leaving, departing, and then Max realizing that there was a shapeshifter out there who could look and sound like anyone. And Max is even only beginning to piece together what all of their motivations are. Speaking of motivations, I do want to just again highlight the fact that I absolutely thought that Safi ruined Lucas's relationship with his son, because Safi thought that Lucas had smashed in the windshield of her car, and to destroy his relationship with his son was rather depraved, because, as we got to point out to her, Robbie, Lucas's son, had nothing to do with that. And also, it was so disproportionate to, like, wrecking the windshield on her car. Like, yeah, that would make me very angry, but to victimize a child over it, which is basically what she's doing, it felt like it was a real character building moment about, like, oh, Safi is much less judicious with her powers than Max ever was. But then there was that one line of dialogue where she revealed that no, she had done it because she had thought that Lucas had ruined her book deal. And it sort of made the whole smashing out of her windshield with the Lucas Colmenero skull a huge wasted opportunity. Hold on, just in case we get a post credit, let's just dial this back up to where it was.
Shit. Shit.
We're gonna have to get you a blood transfusion.
What the fuck are you doing here?
You remember me. That's flattering. I've seen nosebleeds like that before. So you can run, or you can follow me and get some answers. Your choice.
Oh my God. Sorry. You have no idea how happy I am to see that. Oh. So, wow. That knocked every other thought out of my head. You are, I assure you, underestimating how much I appreciate this series. Just prior to that, if that had just gone to black, the next thing I was going to say in watching that scene was, I hate what they're setting up here because I don't know that we'll ever get to see it. There's been a huge drop-off in recent years of the number of narrative games being put out there. We get a few like The Expanse, or allegedly The Wolf Among Us 2 is under production as of this sentence, but it's just not the market that it used to be, and just who knows when is the last one, but I would be, you guys can hear, just so excited to see this storyline continue. So we'll move forward. I really thought that episode 4 was going to be the, like, there's somebody out there with superpowers and they are working at cross purposes to Max Caulfield. I almost said malevolent, but Safi never came off as malevolent so much as just totally unchained, and I was not surprised to hear her monologue in this episode about how what we can do is what gods can do, or maybe monsters. And it feels like Safi is making a little bit of a decision about who she wants to be. This ending, and what it felt like, frankly, before that, when she says, I'm going to go find other people with powers. When I come back, will you stand with me? Which is the question on screen, that we'll see in just a second. I compared her to Professor X due to like the mind manipulation a moment ago, but she's really being set up as more of a Magneto character, someone who thinks that maybe people with powers should be allowed to do what they want. The world works the way that I say it should work. Feels like some real megalomaniacal stuff right there. So we'll talk about that. I'm already getting to what's on there on screen. The thing about Chapter 4, and now this chapter, is that they were much shorter than the ones that came before them. And Chapter 4, I felt like it was a real downbeat for me with the story. And as I talk about this, please keep in mind all of the super positive things I said about chapters 1 through 3. The characters are so fully realized. It feels like you're stepping into a situation with some existing interactions, and the mystery is so good. And then in chapter 4, it feels like so much of it was, instead of building up to like you get a great conversation between Max and Safi, and where I expected that to show how far diverged their viewpoints and goals were, instead they came together on this common goal of, we have to ruin Lucas Colmenero. And yes, you do, because his theft of Maya Okada's manuscript is absolutely indefensible. It's horrible what happened there, and they're going to bring that to light. And then I talked about it there in chapter 4. You can see on the script, you could read the page and you can envision exactly what they were going for. And then in the execution, I talked about this at the time, the crowd sounds are wrong. The NPCs seem to be like sort of staring off into space and completely disengaged. It just, what is supposed to be a soft climax for the whole story winds up falling really flat. And that is not a writing problem, and I don't think that it's a problem with like the technical acumen of the team. It feels like a moment that just wasn't given enough budget and development time, and that's disappointing because we've seen what the team at Deck 9 can pull off. Are these all of the same human beings that did True Colors? I don't know. Yeah, like I couldn't tell you who was like lead technical director, lead animator, sound design artist on that game. But we've seen a moment so close to that in the big climax of True Colors. We know that they know how to do it, and the fact that it didn't work here just feels like a shot and a miss. And maybe there'll be a patch that fixes it up in some future version. I hope they do that, because that it hurt seeing that, man, this just doesn't work the way that they clearly intended it to be. I also thought, by the way, another thing that the story did really, really well was getting confused over what was happening and what people were saying and what relationships had been built in a live world versus dead world. That was really well handled. And the fact that Max herself was getting confused on that, just it worked so well, because it really turned me around a couple times. And like when there would be a conversation option that I would bring up and they were like, what are you talking about? And Max was like, oh no, that was in the other world. Perfect. A+. Like that's another reason, by the way, that I want to wait a week. I'm not sure that it would have made a difference, but like just getting completely swept up in the tangle of these two timelines worked exactly the way that I think the developers wanted to. So that was really, really awesome. I'm just going to take a quick look here because I was making a couple notes here as I was playing. The soundtrack in all Life is Strange games is so good. So here's the thing. The music in this game was so good. There's almost nothing that resonates with me more in these games than the choice of soundtrack to underlie and to sort of like boost up and amplify some of these moments. And I will always remember, I think it's the start of chapter 2 of episode 2 of the first Life is Strange. There's a scene where Max wakes up at Chloe's house and they start the day by getting up and dancing on the bed to like, I couldn't like replicate the song for you, but like that moment is like, it's just seared into my memory. And the soundtrack in all of these games is so good, and this game is no exception. I adored the music in this. And then you get to like how it's presented sometime that I remember wasn't it the very end of chapter 1 where it just had this kick-ass soundtrack and then it just like hard cuts, and I remember being like, oh my god, because it really ruined that moment where it needed to cut out on a specific beat or fade away before it went to the next thing, and it didn't. And again, it feels like one of those things could be addressed in a patch, but it's one of those like big dramatic moments that ultimately feels flubbed. And again, we know the people there know how to tell a story and we know what they're going for. And it just feels like one of those things that they didn't have time to finish. And man, I would like to see them be given the time and staff and budget that they need to do. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else here. Well, I bet you that we're going to see some more here as we go. Well, what we haven't talked about is chapter 5 here. So chapter 5 wandered into some very abstract zones where it feels like there was a nexus built by the storm of the two different timelines sort of being stitched back together. But what was lacking here in chapter 5 was very much in the way of choices. It was finding the people that sort of had shards of Safi inside of them, and then using Max's double exposure power. Like the Polaroid has always been the mechanism through which her power works. And I feel like there's probably people out there that might get confused that the Polaroid is magic. It's just the way that Max sort of focuses and exercises her power. And to be able to take the photograph, and by the way, like we were talking before about the recording of Gwen, the fact that in the end it's her camera that is able to discern the Safi from the original, it's just... that video footage of Gwen just did them no favors from a writing standpoint, because if not for that, then the idea that Max could take a photograph of Lucas and it would actually show Safi, sorry, Moses. I'm gonna get that confused. Lucas, Reggie, and Moses are all different people with different names, but for some reason, when I'm thinking of Moses, I will use all of those three. The point is, the camera would have been a perfect resolution point. However, if they are setting up, see, now that we know Max Caulfield will return and presumably Safi will as well, now that that's on the table, suddenly it makes a lot of sense that they might want to have Safi's power extend into digital recording equipment, because otherwise it would always be the thing blood test to simply take a photograph of somebody. And then you could see, oh, okay, so this is definitely Vin. Like I just took a picture of him. So yeah, I can now that I know that they have wider plans, just please do it. Please do it. I want to see more. I don't want to wait another decade to get more Max Caulfield. That was such an exciting reveal there at the end. And so anyway, it feels like you're just sort of like going through the conversations, but you're sort of stripped a little bit of the conversation of the choices. And it might have been interesting, although I don't know how they would do this, if there was some sort of an element of like, well, if I remove Safi from them, are they going to be worse off? Has Safi imparted on them a sense of confidence or determination or selflessness or anger or bitterness that has affected them? And by pulling it out, it might leave a hole in there. I felt like True Colors had a couple choices like that, where it's like, what information do you share? How do you want to handle this? And some of them felt very complicated. And here, there's just none of that choice. That said, if we're going to see these characters again, that would have made it so difficult to process. And then, by the way, there was the revelation that the storm was actually real. When we learned that Safi's powers were mentally affecting everybody at the campus, and they were all sort of like locked in this like grief cycle, this like shocked horror, except for Max. Max also has abilities. She literally journeys between different worlds, so the idea that she might process something like that differently and be affected differently. But that's why I thought that giant storm that they saw from the Overlook was a projection of Safi's emotional turmoil that Max's mind was transcribing as being the huge storm that threatened to take Arcadia Bay. So I was a little bit surprised, not disappointed, but like, oh no, it actually was a storm. Like, not just that people could see and hear inside the nexus of realities, but also something that physically damaged the campus. And there were all these like knocked down trees and the bent poles. Like, oh, okay. I thought that was much more metaphorical. So that was interesting. And then just that, like, I guess we'll get into it now, because this is the next moment that I would talk about. Oh, and also, I thought that Max was going to go public. Like, I thought that she was going to get up on stage someplace, like at a press conference, and say, ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about time travel. But instead, she talked about the people that knew her the best, that she directly interacted with in that nexus, and their minds were not wiped. They did remember all of that. So to talk with them and try to guide them through what she knows, now in retrospect, that makes a million points of sense. So now I get it. What she had planned made a lot more sense than just go public. So there we are. We'll see what else comes to mind as we look at this. Accept or reject Safi. Safi feels that you have abandoned her like everybody else. Here's the thing. Safi is not talking and behaving in a rational and compassionate and level-headed manner. She's talking about her mother. She's angry at her mother for lying to her, covering up the theft of Maya's manuscript for the good of the college, building her own career off the grave of Maya Okada and covering it all up. And that was horrible, a horrible revelation to Safi. And also, that one thing you wouldn't think would be all defining of who Yasmin Fayyad, that I think that's her last name. I think what we're led to believe is that this is Safi Llewellyn Fayyad, and then Yasmin was just Yasmin Fayyad. So Llewellyn would have been Safi's father, you'd think. There we go. So here's Yasmin. Yasmin seemed in every other way to be a caring and supporting parent who Safi felt comfortable sharing her poetry with, sharing manuscripts of her book. And then I feel like what we're also meant to learn is that Yasmin was responsible for going to Gwen and saying, you need to kill this book. This is going to bring up the Maya Okada stuff. I don't know. I feel like I missed the exact moment that we were supposed to put that together, but clearly that's what we're supposed to understand, that Gwen didn't just kill Safi's book because Gwen decided it dug up too many skeletons. Yasmin had seen the manuscript. She thought it was very good. Then it was going to move into publication, and Yasmin thought better and is like, wait, this is going to dig up a whole bunch of skeletons about you, Lucas Colmenero, that we cannot afford to do. Kill the book deal. Like, my daughter can write a different book about something else, and we'll help her through that, but we're not going to do this whole Maya Okada thing. And that's another thing that Safi was like incredibly angry and betrayed about. And that roiling emotion, generating the storm and overlaying a blanket over the entire campus, and everybody just like, you lied to me. I get all of that. And then after Max has put Safi back together, as Safi is overlooking a now calm and placid campus after having been reassembled by Max and connecting with her across all of this, like this montage of the different moments that they had together, and then to return to this time in this place where her own mother is like lying with a gunshot wound, and to feel nothing. Not that she was like good. It's not even that she's angry and bitter. She's just completely disinterested in it. This doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like she's in a good place. It feels like she's really, really messed up. And then she's talking about like the things that we can do or what gods can do. Is Maxine Caulfield going to stand with Safi? Whenever I come back, I need to know that you'll stand with me. I don't know, man. That didn't seem right to me. That's not the Max Caulfield that I know. It's not the one that learned from Arcadia Bay that your powers cannot be the solution to all of your abilities. For all of the power that you have, for everything that you can change, there are some things that are unavoidable. And one of those things was the death of Chloe Price. That's how my story went. It did not feel to me like that was a hand that she could take. So that's where that came from. It was motivated by her monologue and just the total lack of compassion or empathy for her own mother lying in the snow with a gunshot wound. It just... I understand how angry and betrayed that she had felt. And also to see the person that raised you and feel nothing, it went real hard. Graffiti critic. Max critiqued graffiti in the Blackwell bathroom. I tried to click on everything. Also, when we got into the bathroom there, I swear to God, my first thought was I would rather be in a Silent Hill bathroom than to be back in the Blackwell bathroom. That was not a place that I wanted to revisit. Finding Loretta, 37%. Max found Loretta in the storm and helped her. Why is it so low? I guess I went looking for anything. It seems like a lot of people didn't find Loretta. Bowling alley moment of reflection. Max reflected at the bowling alley. See, that I understand. That bench was a little bit back and out of the way. I'm glad. I wanted to get every moment of reflection and every Polaroid. Also, where are the Polaroids coming from? One of the leading clues that led me to the belief that Max Caulfield was facing an alternate double of herself was A, Max encountered a dark version of herself in the first game. Someone who had a version of Max that appeared to have become like unstuck from time and was in this weird limbo nexus of the two whales. So I thought that it was that person, like maybe the same individual Max was like back, had worked her way out and was seeking revenge and leaving all of these borderline taunting Polaroids. But if Max Caulfield is not never, but very rarely traveling in time, where are the Polaroids coming from? Why are they around and sometimes seemingly describing moments or events that didn't actually occur to this Max Caulfield or for this Max Caulfield? I feel like, much like the Divergent timelines, I sort of misunderstood what the Polaroids were supposed to be. But anyway, Nightstand Librarian, Max looked at all the books on the motel nightstand. Yes! I want to go back and look through some of those names because there's just too many that are recognizable game writers, essayists, and journalists. There's the D. Riendo, A. Walker, and R. Zachney. Now I want to see who else I missed because the last names are just too. Walker is Walker, but Riendo and Zachney, come on. Okay, I'll just say this: whatever inspiration or special thanks, if that was intended as, just very cool. Looked at some of the books that did not look at any of the books. Chloe's lockpicks. Max reminisced on Chloe's lockpick set, and then 8% didn't find them. They were kind of right out there. So 8% were very much trying not to find them. Loretta's attitude. Loretta had a change of heart in how she reports stories. This is very interesting. Loretta still pursues stories as doggedly as ever. You heard me say it earlier. Here's the thing, and here's one of the reasons that I tend to enjoy stories that are set in and around high school and college, because people are still young and they can be awful fuck-ups in a way that they can still grow and learn from. And I actually feel really good that Loretta is going to be a little bit more careful and even-handed. If I knew what I did to affect that change, I would share it here. Was it basically chewing her out and refusing to give her a comment? I don't know. But whatever it was, I'm glad for it. Reggie's feelings. Reggie and Vin have reconciled, ? I did not kiss Vin, so that 19% was never going to happen to me. And then Max didn't speak with Reggie in North Quad. I don't necessarily know which event that was. I might have to watch our own episode back. But yeah, I guess the two of them reconcile a lot more often than not, 73% of the time, in fact. Abraxas election, Vin plans to run again, and then Vin dropped out of the race. Again, absolutely unclear on what I might have done to affect that, if anything. It would actually be impossible for me to be less interested in the Abraxas leadership. And that's not because it's a failed storyline. It's just because I just absolutely don't care. Like, this is a bunch of people in my head metaphorically getting together at 11:30 p.m. in dark red cloaks to stand around a fire and read a whole bunch of nonsense scripture that they wrote. It's just a stupid secret society cult. I hope that they have fun with whatever it is. They seem to have no bearing on the plot in any meaningful way, and good for Vin for being the president of basically the gross society from Calvin and Hobbes. Good on you, bro. I hope you enjoy it. Gwen's next move, 48%. Gwen will keep fighting the committee's decision. Good. Like I said, what happened to Gwen Hunter? I almost said Walker. Gwen Hunter, absolute travesty. Well, no, see, that's the thing. It's not a travesty of justice. She was framed by something that the committee is simply never going to accept, that a shapeshifter, a skinwalker, dressed up like Gwen Walker and then sold drugs. on a security camera. I'm glad that she's fighting it. I would want Gwen to get her job back because by all accounts, she was a very good professor that got cowed and misled and probably extorted by the president of the college. And I just don't see a way that she's going to get her job back. What were the other options? 13% accepted the committee's decision, and then 39% chose to move on from Caledon. I don't know what the difference is between those two ideas, because if she accepts the committee's decision, she's going to have to leave Caledon, unless there's a version where the committee reinstates Gwen. And if I failed at that, then I feel terrible, because then she would accept the committee, but I feel like it would have said that. Yasmin's attitude, 83%, the board forced Yasmin out of the presidency. Good. I said it briefly there. Yasmin, let's just briefly recap. Yasmin became aware that Maya Okada, her daughter's best friend, had written a manuscript that was then stolen by Lucas Colmenero. Yasmin assisted in the cover-up, which I suspect then directly resulted in Maya Okada taking her own life, at which point Yasmin then bribed Vin with, if you put, you knew my daughter and Maya very, very well. I want you to put out this slanderous, or libelous, I guess it would be, public statement that Maya Okada was deeply mentally ill and that's why she took her own life. Yasmin's goal was to improve the academic standing of Caledon University and, parenthetically, her own prestige at the university, for the university, and her own, like, now maybe Yasmin can parlay that off, roll that forward into success at an even bigger and more prestigious college. And all she had to do was cover up the death of this young woman, this young, very, very talented young woman who was best friends with her own daughter. Yasmin, here's the thing. Yasmin is not an irredeemable human being, but where Lucas Colmenero stole that script, Yasmin did everything in her power to help him get away with it, and the death of a teen or slightly post-teenage young woman was insufficient to make her second guess her motivations. So Yasmin absolutely deserves to be tossed out of the college. I hope she should pay a steep personal and social price for the decisions that she made. 12%, Yasmin voluntarily stepped down as president. I'm so interested in some of these other options. And then 5%, Yasmin fought the board to remain president. I would dearly love to know how these things were accomplished, and also very glad that I accomplished. Well, having her voluntarily step down would have been better, because then she would take a lot of ownership over her choices, but that's not the world that we're living in. 49%. Half of the people reflected in the North Quad. Even Steven. Okay. And then talking to Moses about Safi. 25%. Max told Moses she'll be here if Safi comes back. What were the other options? 12%. Max told Moses Safi was justified in what she did. Which parts? Because Safi being angry at Gwen, okay, and Safi trying to take Gwen's job away from her because she destroyed her book. It was lacking information, but I can at least get that. What Safi did to Lucas, I won't repeat the whole like victimizing a child thing with Robbie, but that I'm not going to be able to get to like justified in that. And that was, by the way, a huge tell that Safi is simply not very stable with her use of powers, because she goes directly and immediately to the most hurtful things that she can possibly envision. And I get it, but it just makes me very concerned for like, oh yeah, Safi, whenever you get back to Caledon, I'll definitely be here and waiting, and you're like, we'll work together again. I don't know about that. Max told Moses she wasn't giving up on Safi. See, I don't feel like we are. I didn't feel like we were giving up on Safi. And then 8%, Max told Moses that she's done with Safi for good. That was the other option, but I liked the idea of Max finding a place where she feels like she belongs and was not simply going to leave Caledon because of this. And then if Safi does come back, Max would be somebody who could protect all of her friends. So that's what I was thinking. And I made all of those decisions without remotely thinking that Max Caulfield will return. So there we go. So, gosh, is there anything else before we hit B from main menu, which I think is just going to bring us back to the main menu, but you never know. I guess I just want to throw this out there. I like the fact that one of the things that we learn about Diamond was we meet Diamond as a student at the university. We know that she's a filmmaker and apparently a good one. We know that she's in good with Moses and Reggie and has a rivalry at Abraxas. And then seemingly for no reason except to like further flesh out the character. Like it's really not a major like storytelling beat, but it's just another one of those things that they throw in to make the world more alive, more realistic, and more a reflection of the world that we live in. They added that detail where Diamond is just broadly disinterested in romance. She doesn't feel that way about people, not men, not women, not, I don't know, whoever. Like she's just broadly disinterested and probably falls into the category of like somebody who is asexual. She does find over the course of a long time of like interacting with Moses that she does have a thing with Moses. I just thought that was like really cool. Just that storyline could have been cut and you probably would never have felt like Diamond was a poorly fleshed out character because you know so many other things about her. So the fact that they added that in as well, I just thought was really cool. So I wanted to shout that out and put it in contrast to Reggie. Reggie feels ultimately less fully fledged than like Loretta, who gets like one major scene where she's trying to interview Maxine, a second, again, she wants to go by Max. A second scene where she's expressing a lot of concern over Reggie's panic attack, and then that's sort of it. But you do learn a bunch of stuff about Loretta, that, you know, she's got a family that's coming down. It's just little things here and there. Reggie is, like, what do you know about Reggie? He's gay. He has a thing for Vin and with Vin, and apparently the two of them have been going back and forth about it, like will they, won't they, for a while. And just broadly speaking, is kind of a fuck up. And I don't say that with a lot of judgment, but just he breaks a lot of glasses at the Snapping Turtle. He's hyper nervous about running the Olga projector for Lucas Colmenaro's presentation. He's very easily distracted by Diamond, just sort of like effortlessly manipulated into turning his back on his responsibilities. And then the various crosstalk posts. Reggie feels just like, I don't know about half baked, but maybe like 70% baked. Reggie needed something else. Like you guys, real quick, and like there was probably evidence there. What was Reggie's major? Loretta's a journalist. Diamond is a filmmaker. Moses is a professor, but Moses is like a scientist and heavily into astronomy. Max is a photographer. What is Reggie even into? Like, we know that Reggie took Max's class, and from what I remember, he wasn't very good at that. He just seems like somebody who doesn't. It's not that he's like completely ancillary to the story. He just feels like there's like a scene or something for him that had to be cut midway through production, and they just didn't replace it with anything. So I just felt like Reggie was like the one character who felt like really underserved. The other character, by the way, before we like press B, hey you guys, remember the detective Remember the detective that got sent by the FBI, and then he encountered a hologram double of himself on the Overlook, and the two of them made contact, and the detective was deleted from all of history? His mother retroactively had like a miscarriage, and he was never born, never became a detective, was never sent to Caledon, and also hypothetically, no police were ever sent to Caledon. That was really weird. Like, when it happens, it was like, oh my God, what's happening here? Are these the doppelgangers? Like Reggie also saw an alternate version of himself, and like the veil between the two universes is breaking down, except like, was that version of the detective from the past or from the alternate dimension? I feel like we're meant to understand that it was actually from the alternate dimension and he was at a different place in the alternate dimension. But then why would he be there at all? Because in that dimension, Safi hadn't died. That whole like hologram detective thing, I think at the end of this story is unexplained. I'm not going to say that it doesn't make sense, but we do not have enough information to make it, to like fold that into like our overarching story. And maybe that's something that they're deliberately saving as a hook sometime in the next game, because boy, was that like, you just don't have answers about that. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes like not everything wraps up with a neat little bow. So hopefully we'll get something on that in the future. The only other thing, and you've heard me talk about it, so I'll be super quick so we don't belabor it. How was Safi's death supposed to be a suicide? Why was that ever even on the table? I went back and I watched the scene where Max found her body, and I just don't see a gun there. And it was so distracting. It feels like a choice, a decision point that was injected into the story about like, wait, maybe we can make Max consider the possibility that Safi took her own life. And no, she didn't. That doesn't make any sense at any point in this story. And it feels like even a cursory forensics examination of her death would explain that. And that's before you get to the idea that there was no gun at the scene. How would she have committed? It just doesn't make any sense. And then also this moment occurred to me. Hey, remember how those like snowdrop flowers blossomed in the exact shape of Safi's body? Is that Diamond? Like I'm just going to put out there, it is heavily implied beyond the point of any reasonable doubt that Diamond has some sort of ability at the end that happened to be where she was sitting. What's the deal with the snowdrop flowers? And I'm just going to go out on this and the detective thing by saying I am prepared to accept that those are hooks of a larger universe and a broader mystery that we will get the answers on. But boy, I hope that they do that, because if those things never get addressed, then they will feel like just some sloppy storytelling. And I hope that they don't go that way. Even if they didn't know what those meant at the moment that they wrote them, finding some way to address those yet unresolved plot threads, I feel like would be very important to do. Unless there was an answer that I never found. And I feel like that's it. I feel like that's everything that we have to say. And just back to the title screen. This is it. This is the conclusion of Life is Strange Double Exposure. I did not ever think that we would see Max Caulfield again. I am so happy that we got a chance to do this story. And hold on. I need to not have lyrics. Oh, you know what we'll do? We'll just dial it down again. This is fine. Hold on. All right, we'll just take that all the way down. Because it's actually a really nice song. There are a couple points, particularly chapter 4, where I feel like the story didn't deliver as thoroughly as I might have hoped. And I feel like chapter 5 got very, very abstract on its way to what was ultimately a very interesting ending that sets up a lot of exciting stuff for the future. That doesn't prevent this from being a full and complete story on its own. There's a couple things that I probably would have wanted to see executed quite a bit differently, and there we go. Like, that's my thoughts. Where does it fall among Life is Strange games? It will be extremely difficult for any any other narrative game to overthrow the first one in my memory. And that said, I do feel like this comes in rather behind True Colors. Oh, and I was so hoping for an Alex Chen cameo. There was never any moment in the entire game that made it feel like maybe she would show up, but I still thought maybe she would show up because it would be so much fun to see Erika Mori, I think that's her name, return as Alex Chen and get even a hint as to what she had been up to since the events of that game. But alas, we didn't get that. Maybe in the next one. You guys, if I'm making a wish list, a Max and Alex Chen team up would be so cool. Can I share? I actually did think that was what might be going on when everybody started flipping out and hallucinating at Caledon, and I saw like there was like this big flash of red, and suddenly it seemed like people were getting like really angry and very alarmed, and I was like, oh my God, is this an Alex Chen thing? Like it seemed so emotions based, but no. That said, I feel like True Colors is the game made by Deck 9 that demonstrated, oh, holy shit, these people have it. Like, they have it. They can really weave together a phenomenal setting and these great characters, and all of the tech was on point, and like where they redress the entire town for like a LARP, it's fantastically unrealistic that much effort would be put into something for like one kid, and yet it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So True Colors seemed like a real high point for the studio, and it was such a massive turnaround from how I felt about Before the Storm. I feel like I really very much enjoyed my time with Double Exposure. It is difficult to separate it from my affection for the character of Max Caulfield and my appreciation for how strong the performances are at times when I feel like the writing got a little bit overly complicated or failed to deliver on what I feel like was their intent. So that's sort of my overall thoughts on it. I very much enjoyed this adventure, and you guys, we really love putting together Narrative Sunday for you guys. I don't know when these episodes will be up for everybody to enjoy, but whenever it is, I want to thank you for going on this journey with us. And that's it. That's everything I've got to say about it. Thank you guys so much. We will see you guys again in the future for, I hope, many, many more narrative games. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful day.